need to understand, if someone built a little one of these boxes and hung it on their house, if it got in the wrong hands, the next thing you know, the whole state of Illinois gets annihilated. When you're dealing with this type of technology, if it is weaponized, it is so destructive. It makes I've heard it say it's been compared to making a making a neutron bomb look like a candlestick. Is very destructive if weaponized, and any type of energy source can be weaponized, some more efficiently than others. But the reason they're not releasing it is not the reason I first thought. I first thought that when I first heard about this stuff, when I first got introduced to some of these different concepts, I said, well, the reason they're not introducing it is because they ain't going to make any money off of it. You know, if you're hanging a Tesla coil box, a box with a bunch of Tesla coils, a little black box on your house, and you don't need the electrical company, you're putting one of those in a car, and you don't need a gas station, well, you just got rid of most of what our enemy does best, scarcity. Right? Well, that's true. There's a lot of groups out there that want to make money off this type of stuff, and let's face it, you ain't going to make a whole lot of money. Or you're not going to make as much money as you would by selling gasoline and selling new car engines and selling power from the local power grid. Those are all monopolies. Those are all a lot of scams, right? Well, there's a portion of it. When I first looked at it, I said, well, it's obviously all about money. The reason they're not releasing it is about money, and that's what all the environmental groups said. The reason alternative energy, they're not releasing any of these goodies that all the so-called conspiracy theorists theorize on it is because they won't make money off of it. But the groups that control it, the groups, I shouldn't say control it because I don't know that. Let's assume Horus doesn't know that exactly, but the ones I know of, think a little bit like Horus. It's a totally different mindset. They don't believe the bears need it. Right? I mean, we're back to the bears again. Why would they not bring out this technology if they're not concerned with the money aspect? If it's so creative, for instance, like the internet. Certain groups would not allow the internet out. There's other groups that wanted the internet out. Why? Because it's so destructive, but in a creative way, and it undermines our enemy. Well, why wouldn't they bring out an energy source if it undermines an enemy? Well, there's another side to that, too. It's also very, very dangerous. If you brought out an energy source, the bears don't need it. The bears, remember, back to the bears. The bears don't need air conditioning. And some of the different groups that I would say I like the way they think, I like the way they think on this energy, has nothing to do with money. If it did, the internet wouldn't have came out, because the internet certainly, I'm sorry, the internet is a moneymaker now, but at first all it did was destroy all the moneymakers. It destroyed the major media. It basically destroyed state income tax. It destroyed a lot of different things. But the reason these alternative technologies have not been come out yet, because it's not time for them to come out. They're not controllable in a way that allows white rabbits to benefit, and at the same time make sure the bears don't get their hands on them. Think in terms of this next new technology is like the B-2 stealth bomber. The bears don't need a B-2 stealth bomber, and you wouldn't dream of selling them one. If you went to the Pentagon and said, you know what, we're going to start selling our B-2 stealth bombers to all the bears and the Amazon tribes and whatever, they laugh you out of there. They ain't going to do that. They're not going to start selling B-2. Well, that's how these groups think about these new forms of energy. We may have had them for 100 years, or who knows how long we've had some of this stuff, but it wasn't time. And the bears don't need air conditioning. No, they don't. They don't. These groups, in my opinion, some of them that I've been exposed to, think identically to Horus. Wonderful, fantastic. It's about time, but that's good. That's good. So when you read about alternative energies and the stuff coming down the pipeline, and anyone, some of the stuff goes so far out there that I'm just really scratching the surface, because I don't know. I don't really know how to approach it. It's not easy for a non-science person to approach it, and a science person will blow you away. I mentioned Joseph P. Farrell. He has a gift to explain some of these scalar concepts. That's what they're called, S-C-A-L-A-R, and some of these different types of energy sources. in a way that a non-academic can really understand it. He has a great gift for that, and he's a little eccentric. This type of stuff is an eccentric area. It's usually laughed at until it hits you in the face. Stealth bombers were usually laughed at. They thought they were UFOs until 20 years later it's bombing you in Iraq. But that's how our technology works. It doesn't matter what it is. It doesn't matter whether it's internet or alternative energy. It's gonna come down a defense path, because the defense path can also keep stuff secret. Yeah, defense industry keeps things secret all the time. And the military-industrial complex, the MIC, a lot have been commented on it, a lot of negative. Well, our race, basically 80% of our survival is defensive. So the vast majority of our technological innovation is going to come down the defensive path, unless we're on a planet all by our lonesome. If you spread us out over the top of the planet, they're going to constantly be thinking of going to Walmart and getting a gun. That's what you think about, isn't it? Well, that's how white rabbits think. It doesn't matter whether they're white rabbits in charge or behind a military-industrial complex, or if you're sitting at your home thinking about, boy, I need to get me some more shotgun shells from Walmart. And boy, or maybe you're a 16-year-old girl rabbit saying, please buy me that pink 9mm Walmart. You never know when the crazies may come. Well, the people in the military-industrial complex and all the other attachés think of the same way. And they're a lot more clever and sneaky than you think. I've been asked before, my opinion on some of these different weapon systems they have. Well, one day I naively asked someone in the know, let's say in the know, attached to one of these conglomerates, why do you make those weird little bomblets? Why not just blow up everyone? He just stated the obvious. He says, we make what the customer orders. If you order it, we're going to make it. Well, that's what they get paid to do. So do they push some projects more than others? Yeah, that's more what you see is what you get. But in the end, there's some bright white rabbits there, and they've done a lot of interesting stuff that we just haven't seen the full fruits of. So we got to be patient with it. But it is critical stuff. Most of the time when you're listening to the pieces I read or this show in general, it's going to go against the grain. It's going to go against the grain of most white nationalists. It's going to go against the grains of conventional thinking. Oh, well, that's the way we think. It is what it is. But most of the world is like that now. If I were to tell you, if I were to give you a quiz and say, is our background searches easier to do in 2009 than they were in 1959? You would laugh and you'd say, well, it's a lot easier in 2009 because anyone can get online and do a background search. Oh, well, that's wrong. They're more expensive now, and they're more complicated now, and they're less accurate now than ever. Why? Because anyone can get online and change their information. Your average 13-year-old girl in Canada can do outrageous things with her identity. And sure, you can do background searches. 15 different lie detector tests, and you have to put all her friends under lie detector tests, because that's just the way this world operates. I mean, you don't know anything about your neighbors. Every other day someone gets online and finds out about some child molester living 5 doors down. But that's the way the society operates. Everything's wide sky. What you don't see can kill you politically. But background searches are that's conventional wisdom. Oh yeah, we can do background searches. We can get online and we can search people. Well, no, that information is mostly inaccurate. Even what's accurate, you're still not going to get a complete picture. Background searches are a lot more difficult now. In 1959, you walk around and ask people, they tell you the truth. But that's a type of conventional thinking. So when it comes down to the military-industrial complex and why they don't release some of this next-generation energy, the conventional thinking is that it's because of money. Well, no, because the groups in charge of this, if they wanted to make money, they'd sell B-2 bombers to China and Russia. Well, selling in Russia wouldn't bother me, but they do a lot of, they could sell a lot more weapons to a lot more places. They don't really do that. The Russians could sell some really neat stuff, but they don't do that. They sell what they don't need. And I went over this with you. Why? Because they think just like you. White rabbits deep down inside are still white rabbits. They're still indigenous white rabbits of Europe. If you're thinking about going to store and going to local Walmart in your Prius and getting yourself a little 12-gauge shotgun and some shells, well, that's the way white rabbits think. So to wrap up the environmental